Bruce, you had the former, I think the last governor of Illinois is not in jail, I believe, Jim Edgar, actually. So, I mean, if you're going to get one, this is the one you want to get. But he had some, I guess we'll say, some not nice things to say. Here, I'll just play a little bit of the audio here.
Now, we cannot afford a governor who has to learn on the job. We cannot afford a governor whose approach to governing is to create a fight and divide this state.
Now, obviously, there's no doubt that's directed at you. What is your response to that?
You know what? The powers of the status quo in Illinois are really strong. And if you look at the special interest groups that fund the campaign that he's working with, are the same special interest groups that make their money from the taxpayers. It's the same special interest groups that funded Rod Blagojevich in a huge way, the same special interest groups that fund Pat Quinn. It's all the status quo. We've got massive failure in Springfield. And the reason those special interest groups are funding one of my opponents in a huge way, and they're attacking me and Evelyn with millions of dollars in attack ads, is they know we can beat Pat Quinn. They know we're going to shake up the status quo. We are not going to stand by while our government continues to be throttled and strangled and crushed by their special interests. And we're going to shake it up. And they're scared. They're nervous. We're coming in as fresh outsiders who are going to change the status quo, and they're scared. I don't blame them. I understand. But you know what? We're going to be a unifying force for Illinois. We're going to be leaders who are for every voter, every family, every working family in this state, because we're going to get a booming economy, creating jobs for everybody. We're going to lower the tax burden, and we're going to improve our schools.
All right, let's talk about that. Our state's in financial ruins. We need a governor with a commitment to policies, though, that bring spending down in the state of Illinois. How can you do that?
Yes, exactly. This is the reason that we're running. The power of the governorship in Illinois is really strong. You have executive order ability, you have line item veto, a mandatory veto, you control the checkbook and the spending. You appoint all the key positions throughout the government. So if you put in pro-business, pro-growth, pro-cost-cutting executives in charge of the government, you can dramatically shrink the spending and take on those contract negotiations with the government union bosses, with the suppliers, and you can change the system. Mitch Daniels did exactly that when he turned around Indiana. He brought in 30 superstars from the private sector, the business sector, into the government and ran it more like a business. That's exactly what we've got to do.
But the key is to control Mike Madigan, and many people criticized you for party discipline because you had breakfast with him. How was that breakfast, and what did you learn?
No, I don't comment on anything in any meetings, but you know what? I have met with many dozens and dozens of legislators over the last couple of years, and I will continue to do that. I'm going to get to know every legislator on a first-name basis, because some of the things I want to change can't be done by executive order and can't be done by appointing key positions in the government. They have to be done legislatively. And I'm going to get legislation drafted and passed by working closely with the legislature, living in Springfield. I'll be down there every day there in session, and we're going to get major bills drafted and passed so we can change the system.
How many Chicago Democrats do you think are going to be pulling Republican ballots tomorrow?
Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea. The Republican primary voter turnout tends to be fairly low, and so that's one of the reasons we've been traveling the state, making sure Republicans get out and vote. We don't want our Republican primary hijacked by the special interest groups of Pat Quinn and his Democratic allies. They're coming over to they're talking about voting against Evelyn and me and supporting one of my opponents who's part of the status quo, because they're scared of Evelyn and me. It's hard to know how much that'll happen, how much that'll matter. The key is good Republicans getting out and voting in the primary. Evelyn Sanguinetti and I are going to shake up the system.
I know a couple of friends that, and I know you hunt, and so I really want to hear your opinion on this. A couple of friends were ticked off that you didn't show up at the gun lobby or the gun owners lobby day in Springfield.
I heard that. I was disappointed. We had all kinds of speeches scheduled that day. I wasn't aware that was scheduled then. I couldn't get out of a lot of my obligations.
You're not sending a message, though, right, by not showing up?
No,
you are a hunter, aren't you?
I'm a hunter. I'm a gun owner. I'm very much aligned with the Second Amendment. This is an issue of just trying to be with every voter every day of the campaign. We got criticized too for not doing enough, not showing up for every debate. We did 7 debates and more than a half a dozen forums. I mean, good grief. We're trying to do everything we can in this campaign, but it's all about getting out with the voters every day. We put 52,000 miles on the Ford driving. We're doing hundreds and hundreds of events with voters. That's the key to winning, is getting out with the voters directly, shaking hands, listening to their questions, and talking about solutions to our problems.
And we were really sad you missed our debate. Where were you?
I don't know. Which one was that?
It was
like
the 2.5
debates.
hour long debate. It was a marathon.
Bruce, accusations against you are really all over the board, and this is what I love this part of politics. I love the primary because on one hand you're like this Obama loving.
Rahm Emanuel loving,
gay marriage supporting. I mean, you're like this liberal, and then here on the other side, Governor Edgar yesterday was saying that you can't bring people together, and you can't, it's just all over the place.
Exactly. You know what? I'm getting attacked from the far left and the far right. And, that's a sign that we're running a good campaign. We're going to win this thing. And, it's just the forces of the status quo in Illinois are really strong. We've had bipartisan failure. And the folks who like the status quo in Illinois, they're scared of Evelyn and me, and they're attacking us all over the place and they're flinging mud. It doesn't bother me. My friends say to me, Bruce, gosh, doesn't it upset you? Doesn't it bother you? These guys are accusing you of ridiculous things that are completely false. And I say, you know what? In politics, if you want a friend, get a dog. And I've got terrific bird dogs. I'm ready to go. None of this stuff bothers me in the least. It's baloney. None of it will stick because there's no there there. The reality is I've been a leader at everything I've done in my life. I drive results. I love the state of Illinois, and I'm doing this out of a passion of love for our state, not because I want money, not because I want a political career. In fact, I'm working for $1 a year. I'm not taking a salary. I'm not taking a pension, and I'm going to travel the nation recruiting companies to come to Illinois and hire our people, and I'm going to do that on my own nickel, not the taxpayer nickel.
Well, where's your salary going to go? Are you going to follow the trail of that money?
It's our taxpayers need a tax break. It's going to go to the taxpayers, and where any opportunity at all to fund, and the number one priority for me for dollars is education. Most important thing we do together is education.
All right, before we let you go and get on with your busy day, I wanted to ask you about a social issue. Personally, I think abortion should be a religious issue, not a political one, but if there was a possibility that the decision was passed from federal to state jurisdiction, what would your position be?
My position would be abortion is a tragedy, but it should be an issue left to a woman with her physician and her family and her minister, not the government.